Hello, Phil Cross here. Still at the Sad Cemetery. I'm going to be making my way up to my bike because I've got kit on there so I can cook myself a bit of dinner. If you've watched one of the other films, you'll understand what I'm being talking about when it comes to diet. So yeah, you've had the news. Whether you're looking at this because you've searched cancer or actually specifically esophageal cancer, you've had the news and it's time to tell people. I got told on the Saturday, which was the 9th of January. So, having come out of the hospital, me and my wife basically sat in the car for a little while trying to digest this, and it's, you know, what do you say to people? You know, one of the things that we do, I mean, we actually do laugh about it as much as people think, oh, really? Stand Up to Cancer, Great British Bake Off, all those kind of things. When they have the adverts in the sort of programme, they try and encourage you to donate, and it's that with Great British Bake Off in particular, 1 in 2 people will be affected by cancer, and quite literally, my wife looked across from the sofa she was sitting on to the sofa I was sitting on, and said, "I hope it's not me." And it was quite funny because I've looked at her and said, "What?" She said, "Oh, you know what I mean, you know," and I do know what she means, but there you go, it fucking was me. So yeah, it's how do you deal with people? You know, I remember when my dad died, and there was some sort of a team drink going on in town about a week after, which I decided to go to. It was up in the West End somewhere, and you know, the people that you work with, you know, your friends from work, would offer condolences. That's what humans do, isn't it? We say sorry for your loss or whatever it may be. But one of the big things is, if there's anything you can do, anything I can do for you, let me know. And it stopped being said to me very quickly after the first person said it, because it obviously was in the earshot of most. Just, yeah, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. And I just said to him, well, my fence needs creosoting, if you fancy that. And he was like, what? And whilst I get the sentiment, I obviously do get the sentiment. Is there anything I can do for you? It's literally just words, isn't it? It's because we don't know what else to say. But it's kind of a flippy thing here, because you're looking to tell people who are important to you, close to you, that you've had this diagnosis, and at that point we still hadn't seen the first consultant, so we didn't know, you know, what the future sort of held around it. So, you know, it's a big deal. So yeah, my wife asked me, you know, what's going through your mind, and one of the first things that I said out loud to her was, how do I tell my son? You know, how do I tell my son this news? And rightly or wrongly, we decided not to tell him. I don't think my son is stupid. In fact, he's highly intelligent, but I think he probably worked it out for himself without being told. But I decided not to tell him. And the reason I decided not to tell him was because I didn't want him to immediately associate him with my father, who died 6 years before with brain cancer. So that was my reasoning behind it. Second, around about the November time, I had a seminar, Teams seminar, because I was looking to retire from the police, and there was a lady on there that spoke about wills, and we needed to get a will done, basically because we didn't really have a decent will in place, but we needed to sort out a will in trust. Again, folks, if you're staring down the barrel of the gun, a will that's in trust protects your kids in the future. So the whole point of these wills was along, and bear in mind I didn't know at the time, was that should one of us die, if the other one was to get into another relationship with somebody else and that relationship failed, if that somebody else was going for half of, whatever you have, they wouldn't be able to get half, they'd be able to get quarter, they'll be able to get half of your half. The half that was for your child remains their half, they've got no access to it. So that was quite an important will for us to get sorted out, which, funny enough, the two wills dropped through the door on Friday the 8th of January. So they literally came through the door the day before I was diagnosed, and that was the second thing. We need to get these wills signed and witnessed, which is what we did. So on the Sunday, I'd compiled a text. I wasn't in the mood to speak to people, really wasn't in the mood to speak to people. So I compiled a text that I sent to, I sent one to my mum, one to my uncle, who's important to me, Tony. I sent one to Butch, my sergeant, and I sent one to somebody who I held, it was quite an important friend of mine, another guy called Tony, and that was going to be on the Monday. Sorry, I digress. That was on the Monday. On the Sunday, I went for a walk, and I told one of my closest friends, Mark, the news. But only after I've been walking for about an hour, been on the phone for about an hour, talking motorbike shit and whatever, and he said, like, any other news? And then I basically give him the other news, and he was like, oh, for fuck's sake, we've been talking about motorbikes for the last hour, fucking, do you know what I mean? But yeah, so these are the people I told, but I told most of the others on text. And the reason I'm telling you this is try not to be too surprised in the way that people react to it. So my friend Tony sent me a reply that simply said "man up," which, I get the attempt at comedy, but this is something that's actually quite real for me and my wife, and quite a big impact on my family. So it wasn't the kind of reply I would have expected. Not that I expected any particular kind, but that kind of reply was from somebody who I was close to, was quite hurtful. Family members will, don't be surprised, but you will find some family members that if they ignore it, it's not happening. If I don't want to see it, it's not happening. And I've got a few family members that went through that process of it. But then, by the same token, you get people that you haven't seen for years, who you used to work with, and you was friendly with when you worked with them, but you haven't seen them for years. And this particularly goes out to one guy in particular, Simon Giles, who's a superintendent in the police now. Well done, you. Out of the blue, got a text from him, mate. I've just heard the news, because it's not something I didn't tell everybody. It's, you know, news eventually gets out, doesn't it? But yeah, I've just heard the news, mate. Is there anything I can do? Absolutely fantastic. No, of course it's not, mate. You know, it is what it is, and we had a sort of brief text conversation about that. But it's the fact that he actually bothered to pick up his phone and send me a text, and I haven't seen him for years. You know, my wife works quite closely with him now, which is nice. So yeah, don't be surprised by the way people react to it. Like I said, the guy that said "man up" to me, I had a phone call from him about 2 months after I told him. Like, we hadn't spoken, you know, since then, and he was asking me if he was an inspector at the time. He was asking if my sergeant could give some sort of a delivery around surveillance to his team. You know, it's the first time I've spoken to him since I told him I had cancer. Butch quite kindly said, no, not fucking happening. And then I saw him, me and my wife went to, we were going to the dentist, I think, and we saw him in a car park there, and he was just coming into the car park in his car, and we were walking towards the exit, and he's like, oh, wound down his window. First words out of his mouth, have you had AIDS? No, you know what I fucking had. And my wife just fucking dragged me away, said, come on, I'm not staying here. And that was that. We sort of lost contact, really, which is a shame, really, because I felt quite close. So, you know, your friends and family, just prepare to be surprised, but not always in a bad way, sometimes in a good way, but be prepared to be surprised by the way people take the news. Yeah, that's that. It's a little short one. Friends and family. I'm going to cook some dinner.